What's up, y'all? I want to talk about the story of Joseph today. And right now, in my life, the story of Joseph is like the most important story in the scriptures to me right now. Because it's speaking to me. I relate to it. It's just so much to unpack. So before I get into it, now the story of Joseph, if you don't know, is in Genesis chapters 35 through 50, and two of the chapters within that are kind of not talking about Joseph. So it's roughly 13 chapters in Genesis. Is the story of Joseph. That's a whole lot. Like, like when you read the scriptures, sometimes somebody's story can be a paragraph or a sentence, but 13 chapters, that's a lot. So if anything that's that long, anytime you got that much scripture, we need to be asking ourselves, what is this saying to us? What is the Most High trying to convey in this? So for me, after reading it, and I've been reading it several times, probably for the last 6 months. I just kept reading Genesis over and over and over and over again. But right now I'm stuck on Joseph. And if I could choose, I'm going to give you 3 scriptural themes, like three things that speak to me when I read about Joseph. So the first one is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, saith Yahuah, plans for good and not evil, to give you a future and an expected end. The second one will be Luke 6:27. But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. And Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Those are the 3 things that I think about when I read Joseph. It's so much to unpack, okay? Can I take my time? So, in the story of Joseph, and I'm just going to assume that you have at least read it, even if you don't have deep understanding of it, I'm going to just assume that you have at least have read it. And if you haven't, you got to go back and read it. So, in Joseph, we know that Joseph was hated by his brothers because he was favored by his father. And then he was sold into slavery. Now this story about Joseph, the reason why I love it is so relatable, because it's really the story about a chosen one. So a chosen one meaning somebody who has been selected by the Most High, a representative from your bloodline who was selected by him and chosen to help preserve the bloodline or to keep a promise. So Joseph was a chosen one. And his grandfather was Abraham, and we know that the Most High made a promise to Abraham. And part of that promise, part of him keeping his promise to Abraham, he did it through Joseph, through his grandson. So when you first start off, it tells you how Joseph's brothers, they hated him, and it specifically said that they hated him because their father favored him above all his other children. So they were very jealous against him, and the jealousy began in the father. But what it really was, sometimes people think that they're jealous of you because how somebody else treats you or because of what you have. But really it's spiritual. When they're jealous of you, is really because of what you have on the inside and who you actually are. So just imagine, Joseph is rejected. Joseph is made fun of. They don't like him already. And at the start of the story, he's 17 years old. So that's a significant age, and actually it's a really sensitive age to imagine being 17 years old and being hated by your brothers. You're not included in the fun. You're not included in their work. You're not included in anything. They just can't stand you. They hate you. Every time they see you coming, they're upset about it. So, Jacob or Israel, he gave Joseph a coat of many colors. So I'm imagining this is a beautiful coat, is high quality. It was, you know, custom made, and he made this for Joseph. What a way to say that this is my favorite, that you give them something that everybody can see every day to show that he ain't like the rest of y'all. So I imagine that will fuel the jealousy. And if you know anything, if you have any experience in your family with jealousy, you know that sometimes a family member, like a parent or a grandparent, somebody significant in your life, can actually, they can like fuel the jealousy that they can create and fuel the jealousy that your other family members have against you. Sometimes you have cousins who hate you only because of the way your grandma treats you. It started there. Before they even knew who you were, they already hated you. And then on top of that, now that you starting to shine and you starting to show who you are, your gifts and your talents and all these things are coming forth, now they really hate you. And it's something completely out of your control, because it's spiritual and because it's, you know, it's something demonic. There's nothing that you can do to turn that around. There's nothing that you can do to make them begin to like you again. As a matter of fact, the more the sweeter you get, the more angry they'll become. Oh my goodness, I even had an experience. Okay, so his brothers hated him, and this is what I saw that was significant. It says his brothers hated him, and because their father loved him more, they could not speak peaceably unto Joseph. They could not speak peaceably unto them. That means that they just couldn't help it. They just mean him all the time. They don't even know why they being mean. They every time he come around, they talking to him like they irritated. They talking to him like he nothing. They talking to him, tearing him down, being mean, saying something negative. It said they could not speak peaceably to them. Now, if that's not demonic, what is? So then Joseph had, you know, 2 dreams that indicated what his future would be. So the first dream that he had a dream that he and his brothers were in the field binding sheaf, and their sheaf Joseph's sheaf was lifted up. It stood up and it was lifted up. And then his brother's sheaf bowed down to his. So that was one dream that indicated that one day that they would bow down to him. And he knew what that dream meant. Mind you, not only was Joseph given like a gift of dreams, but he also had interpretation. So when he told his brothers about that dream, he knew what he was sharing. And then the second dream that he had a dream that included his parents, that included his mother and his father. He had a dream that the sun and the moon and the stars bowed down to him. Now, when he told that dream, his father rebuked him. He didn't like that, because he like, who you think you are? You trying to say I'm gonna bow down to you? Who are you? So those are the 2 dreams that were a turning point in his life. And then when you read in the scripture, there doesn't seem to be much time, if any time at all. You know, it sounds like it was the next day. I don't know, because sometimes in the scripture, something can sound like it was the next day, but it was 10 years later. But it sounded like it was like right away, right after he had these dreams. The next, not the next day, but right after he had these dreams, he was his brothers were out, you know, working, doing their work, and Jacob told Joseph, "Hey, go check on your brothers." He sent him to go check on his brothers. Now that's something that stood out to me. And what stood out to me is that he said, "Go check on them, see if everything is all right, and bring me back word." And what stood out to me is that, come on, Jacob, I know you had to know the strife between he and his brothers. I know you had to have known that they couldn't stand him. So if you already have a child and their siblings have a problem with them, I don't think it's a good idea to send that child to those siblings to check on them and come and give a report. That's going to make them even more mad. They can't handle that. Plus, they're far away from home. You can't see what's going on. So in this whole scenario, I can see where there's a family member, there's a parent, there's somebody who could have doused. They could have put this fire out. They could have lessened what was going on, but they didn't. They didn't do it. So I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like Jacob, he could have done more or less in showing his favoritism for Joseph. So Joseph did what his dad did, what his dad said to do. He went to find his brothers, and he let them know, hey, you know, he wanted to see what was going on. But he came across somebody, and the person asked him who he was looking for. He was saying, I'm looking for my brothers. Have you seen them? They're like, yeah, I think they went to Dothan. So he found his brothers. When he found his brothers, it said when he was afar off, okay? So I imagine they looking really far. They can see him walking for a long time. You know, if they're out in the field or something, who knows? He could have been walking for 5-10 minutes before he was in earshot. So while he was walking up on them, they're conspiring against them. They're already making plans. Man, here come this dreamer. Here he come. Man, I'm so sick of him. Right? They already planned to kill him. They were already planning to kill him. So the whole purpose of them trying to get rid of Joseph is because they did not want the prophecy to come to pass. Because they said, let's see what will come in his dreams if we kill him. What will come in his dreams? That shows you right now that the entire motivation was to stop the prophetic dream that Joseph had and the prophetic word that he delivered by sharing the dream. But stop that prophetic dream from coming forth, and that they would never have to bow down to him. You know this is satanic. Okay. Now, the application of this is so important because I want to talk about how those of us who are chosen, you have family members, people, friends around you who are trying to stop a prophetic word from going forth in your family, but they don't understand that they are being controlled by demonic forces. Now, in their flesh, they're jealous in their flesh. You know, that is them. The jealousy is in their own flesh. It's in their own heart. The envy is in their own heart. The wrath that they have against you is in their own heart. However, because they have this door open, they have this heart of jealousy and this envy, and they just continue to allow this to grow. That's how they become influenced demonically. And a lot of us, it's not just something recent. If you look back, you realize, man, it seemed like ever since I was little, somebody was trying to do something. Like people were doing something to try to derail who you were. Now let's go back to Jeremiah 29:11. Yahuah says, I know the plans that I have for you. Plans for good and not evil, to give you a future and expect the end. Now here comes the enemy trying to destroy that future that the Most High has for you. And he does it by sending people to hurt you, sending people to try to destroy you, to kill you. And even if they can't kill you, because the enemy can't just do whatever he wants to do to you, but he can plant something in your heart that will make you stop yourself. Oh, I can't wait to get to that. He can plant something into your heart by way of offense, where it's really difficult for you to overcome that, and you cannot walk into your purpose with offense in your heart. If you still have anger, if you still have resentment, if you still have unforgiveness, like there's no way that you can walk into the plans that Yah has for you. You'll be delayed. So only you can stop those plans. But that's what the enemy wants to do. He wants to do something, offend you in some way, to allow you to take yourself out, because he can't take you out. So when they see him coming there conspiring against him, and by the time he walked upon them, they were already attacking him. So the first thing they did was they snatched his coat off of him, right? That's the main thing they can't stand. They probably couldn't wait to take that off. They snatched his coat off of him, and they threw him into a pit with no water in it. It's probably an old well or something. Now Reuben, even though they were saying the brothers were saying that they wanted to kill him, Reuben heard it, and he said, don't kill him. That's our brother. Like, don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't kill him. We can just do something. Just put him in the pit or something. Now, in Reuben's heart and mind, his plan said, the scripture says that his plan was actually to put Joseph in the pit and then come back later on, take him out. When the other brothers weren't looking, he wanted to come and take him out and take him back to his father. Reuben, he's the oldest child. He wasn't really about all that. He didn't like him either. He couldn't stand him either. But he wasn't really trying to kill him. I imagine that he didn't want to, probably didn't want to hurt his dad. But here's the thing. The reason why Reuben said that was because that was Yahuah's intervention. His intervention was Reuben saying, no, we're not going to kill him. So he used the eldest to say, we're not going to kill him. So Yah allowed for his brothers to conspire against him and take his coat and throw him in the pit. But he like, that's enough. He allowed the enemy to come in and to attack him and to put him down there, but he would not allow him to be killed. So the Most High, he will allow destruction in your life, but the enemy can't just do whatever he wants to do. And any chosen one understands that you go through things and you may have like large scale devastation in your life. But I guarantee you, you can look and you can see how it could have been worse and it wasn't. Like, you know that Yah intervened and this thing was supposed to be way worse than what it was, but he intervened and he said that's enough. Because Yahuah is not trying to hurt us. He's not trying to destroy us. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to get us to where he's taking us. So, okay. So they took his coat, threw him in the pit, and then went and sat down and ate. Now imagine that. Imagine you take your younger brother, put him in a pit, and then you go sit down and eat. Can you imagine the lack of compassion? Like, that's ruthless. And guess what? Jacob's sons were actually already known for being ruthless. So they have a history. Simeon and Levi, the murder that they did and to Shechem, in Shechem. The murder that they did in Shechem, that was unjust. Like, they were being deceitful because their sister was raped. And they told the men, oh, okay, if you want to take our sister as your wife, because he did want to, let me go back. I don't know if I can say she was raped. Anyway, the guy took his sister. A guy in Shechem took his sister. He laid down with her. He deflowered her. He defiled her. He had sex with her. And then he actually wanted her, though. He wanted to take her as his wife. But what they did was they were like, okay, if everybody gets circumcised, if everyone gets circumcised, then we'll let you have her, and we can all intermarry. They knew already that they were going to kill them. They killed everybody there. Jacob was really upset about it because he was like, you made my name to stink in this land. Okay. So what they did, it was lacking compassion. It was like their anger was, they had a furious anger that could not be put out. So I said that to say how Jacob's sons were like already known for being like wicked. They're already known for that. So here Joseph is in the pit, and they're sitting down talking about what they're gonna do with him. And then Judah was like, you know what? What's the point in killing our brother? I mean, he is our flesh and blood. We might as well get something out of it. Let's sell him. So Judah decided that they were going to sell him, and that's what they were all going to do. They agreed they were going to sell him. But by the time they got to him to sell him, some, I think Ishmaelites, they had already come. Let's see. They had already come and took him out of the pit. Or was it the Midianites? So they had already come. I think the Ishmaelites had already taken, or the Midianites had already taken him out of the pit, and then they sold him to the Ishmaelites. I think that's what it is. You can verify for yourself. So the Midianites had already, the merchantmen, they come and they took Joseph out of the pit, and then they took him, sold him to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites took Joseph down to Egypt because that's where they were already going, and then they sold him. They sold him to Potiphar. So let's think about like this huge offense. This huge offense. This is a horrible thing that's happened. Your brothers, they already hated you. They already been talking about you. They already been jealous against you for, I'm sure, since you were little. They've already been offending you, talking about you, excluding you, rejecting you. And then they do this thing that I'm pretty sure Joseph was like, I know they don't like me, but I didn't think they would do all this. They throw you in the pit. They really wanted to kill you. They left you for dead. which led to you being kidnapped and then sold into slavery. So that quickly, you're in a whole nother land, way away from your parents. Mind you, you're only 17 years old, way away from your parents and your family, and you know that your daddy don't know where you at. Imagine the offense. Like, imagine the confusion of Joseph. I can imagine. I know I can imagine from experience. And any of us who, if you've been through anything, if you've been through any major offense or betrayal or heartbreak or anything, you are wounded and confused. Okay? You're confused about, why did they do that? Like, what did I do to allow this? So when you're wounded, you know, you turn into yourself, and you really looking on the inside, and you really are like, you go within yourself trying to figure this thing out that makes no sense. On top of him being wounded by his brothers, I know he's confused, thinking about his relationship with his creator. He's thinking about the Most High. Like, what? Like, I just had a dream. Like, you know, you felt like you knew who you were. You felt like you knew who you were called to be. And then this thing happens. So I'm pretty sure it looked like his entire future was completely derailed, which that's how it looks, right? When you're a chosen one and these horrible things happen, and you look like, it looks like you're so far away from the plans that y'all have from you. You like, did I do this? Like, how did I get here? You think you did something wrong? Did I miss the mark? Did I miss something? What is going on? It can lead to like a serious crisis in your life. So here Joseph is in this land that he doesn't know of, and guess what? His troubles just started. He's already been offended to the max, and everything has just started for him. So his brothers, you go back and you know they lied and told. Well, they took his coat and they dipped it in blood, because they came back to the pit. They came back to the pit to get him, and they were like, oh my God, he's not even here, right? That's when they find out he's gone. So they had to figure out a way, you know, what are we going to tell our dad? What are we going to do? So they took his coat, they killed a kid, which made me think about, I want to think about this later on, but I'm like, is this some type of demonic covenant? Because that's what it sounds like. You killed a goat and you shed his blood on the basis of you all agreeing on a lie that your brother is dead when he's not. That's deep. That's deep. Okay, so they killed the kid, they put blood all over it, and then they took it back to Jacob and told him, okay, you know, here, we found this in a field somewhere. Surely he's being ripped into pieces. So now Jacob thinks his son is dead. So imagine that when people think you're dead, they're gonna withdraw their energy from even trying to bring you back, right? So it's like if a child is missing from home, as long as that parent believes that they're alive, they're gonna find that child. I'm gonna send out a search party. I'm gonna be praying, fasting. Y'all, everybody gonna help. We gonna look for them day in and day out. But now if you are convinced that they're dead, now you switch from a solution of finding them to now he's just mourning. So now he's in Egypt. His daddy ain't even looking for him. He ain't even looking for him. So he's in Egypt. He goes to Potiphar's house. And Potiphar is, I think he's like a high priest, the high priest of On, and On was a place. So he has this high position, right? This powerful person. So he's in Potiphar's house, and he did well. So right away, while he was in Potiphar's house, he was already being elevated. So Potiphar seen his character, Potiphar seen his work. And not only that, but just who he was. You know, when you're chosen, you have a light in you and you have a mantle upon you. Everybody can see it and everybody knows it. Whether you know it or not. Everyone can see it and everybody knows it. So while he sees that he got this special Hebrew slave, like, wow, like this is really somebody special. So he elevated Joseph and let Joseph know that anything in my house is yours. You can have whatever you want except my wife. You know, that was it. Like Joseph had authority in Potiphar's house. He was in charge, like he was that guy. And here comes the devil again. So while he was in the house, you know, Potiphar's wife, she started making advances toward him. And I imagine that this is not new. You know, it didn't just take place just overnight. she probably been looking at him, studying him, lusting after him for the longest, and then she finally started saying something to him. And he like, no, I'm straight. Like, no thanks. And he turned her down. He turned her down because he was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So right then you saw two things: Joseph's integrity and his self-control. So she made an advance to him again. He was like, no, I can't do this. How can I do this wicked thing to my master? Like, he's giving me everything in his house. Nothing has he held back from me except for you. I can't do this great evil. He said to Yah. And that's another thing that shows you who he is. He knew that he was walking in integrity and being disciplined in his flesh for Yahuah. He wasn't just doing it for Potiphar. He was doing it for Yahuah. So that shows you right there that Joseph has some kind of relationship with Yah. He has some integrity, like he really was trying to serve the Most High. So he ran away from Potiphar's wife, left his garment in her hand, and then she lied. She screamed and lied and said that he was actually trying to rape her. And this is how the next worst thing happens to him. He's falsely accused, falsely imprisoned, and he was in prison. So now he's in prison. In prison, I ain't talking about, these modern prisons. It says he was in the dungeon. And we know that a dungeon is like something that's usually like underground. It's unfinished, it's dirty, it's moist, it's like probably rats and stuff in there. Like, this is a horrible place to be. So now Joseph is in prison just when things were looking up. Ain't that how our life be, right? You think you're doing good and then you go down again. You think just when you think this is my moment, Yah's about to bless me, it's about to happen, he's about to take me where he's been trying to take me. I can feel it, I can see it already, and then boom, you down lower than you were before. What a challenge to your faith. Like, and then you thinking, like, did I hear you correctly? I mean, a lot of times we're not just questioning Yahuah. Sometimes people do that. For me, I can't say that I ever questioned that he meant what he said. I never thought he was a liar. I never found any fault in him. I never projected any fault in him or anything like that. But I would be confused, like, did I hear right? Am I being punished? Did I do something wrong? Maybe it's my fault. I probably didn't hear right. I probably did the wrong thing. I messed it up, didn't I? Yeah, that was me. I did. I messed it up. But sometimes we think we messed up something, but everything that's happening to us is right in his plan. He like, no, like, this is what I actually needed you to do. This is the importance of faith, because you can't let go of what you know to be your purpose and what you know what you were supposed to do because of trials and tribulations that happen in your life. Sometimes we greatly underestimate like how bad things can be, because we'll go through something and we'll be like, oh, okay, I understand it, that was a trial and tribulation. But then something way worse can happen when you be like, no, like, this is something else, because I don't think y'all would let this happen to me. This is just too much. Like, sometimes we also think we can never come back from it. So we just feel like this couldn't have been in the plan. This could not have been in the plan. But there's nothing that can happen. Yahuah would never allow anything to happen that's outside of his will. Satan can't just do whatever he want, He can just do whatever he want. Like, Yah has his thing already planned out. So now here Joseph is, okay? He's been ripped away from his home, away from his family, away from his parents, sold into slavery. Now you're in this house, and then even though you don't want to be there, you're a slave, you're in bondage, you're away from your family, your culture, your language, and everything. Yeah, I don't want to be here. I want to go back home, but I mean, it is nice here. At least he giving me favor. At least I'm eating good. At least I got some level of authority. That's something good that he had going on. Then that was taken away. Now he's in prison. Now you go to prison. You're like, what? Now I'm not even in that house anymore. So how can my family ever find me? Even if my family did happen to come to Egypt looking for me, I'm in a dungeon now. They really ain't gonna be able to find me. You talk about leaning on Yahuah. You talk about being in a place that's so dark that can't nobody save you. There's nobody that nobody in your family, no friend, nobody can save you, because they can't even see where you are. You in such a deep and dark place that they can't even see where you are, let alone save you. And that only Yahuah can save me. only Yahuah can save me. This is how you get closer to him. That makes me think about, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for his rod and his staff comfort me. When you get to that level, that's where he needs you. When you get to the place where you're like, man, I can't, how you doing? Fine. Like, I can't even tell you what I'm actually feeling. I can't. I cannot. You can't see me. You can't perceive it. You can't understand it. You doggone sure can't do nothing about it. Ain't no point in me even telling you. All I can do is continue to walk, and you have no idea what I'm feeling. You have no idea what I'm going through. You have no idea what I'm experiencing. But even in that, he still has his hand on you, and there still will be light upon you, because even in the dungeon, they gave Joseph favor, and he was ruling. He was ruling in prison. They had him in charge. The captain guard had him in charge of the prison. He was running things down there. So that just shows you that, see, like, Yah will let us know that he's going to lift us up and he's going to take us to great places. But everybody wants to be in a great place. Everybody want to rule from the greatness. Everybody want to rule from the mountaintop. But he's trying to teach you that you are who you are, no matter where you are. Whether you're up somewhere high and prominent, or whether you're somewhere low, down, dirty, and dingy, you're going to rule there too. My hand is upon you there too. My favor will be with you too. My authority be with you too. My power will be with you too. Now, sometimes we can think that we're trying to get out of this box that we're in. We're trying to get out of this situation and that we're in. We think it's the devil. We think it's the enemy. The enemy is keeping me here. The enemy is knocking me down. No, it's Yah. He's like, I need you to stay there for a reason. Stay right there until you learn who I am. Stay right there until you learn who you are. When you learn who I am, then you'll know who you are. When you know that I'm the one that put you there, then you know that I still love you, and the only way that you can get out is me. When you learn that I'm actually teaching you something while you in here, then you're learning things about me. You're like, oh, now I know who he is. I know a little bit more about him that I didn't know before I got into this situation. So when you learn all those things about him, and then you realize that I'm actually growing. And then you find out who you actually are. So now that where he got you in the valley low, in this dark place, in a dungeon, and he's teaching you who he is down there, and he's showing you who you are down there. That's what happened. That's what has to happen before he elevates you. Now, another thing that's happening while Joseph is in prison, I know y'all got to be dealing with his heart about the offense. Come on now. Come on. He had this great offense, like your brothers betrayed you to the max. Hold on. Because I wrote down all these offenses. This is a list. Okay, Joseph's troubles. Okay, listen to this. He was already hated by his brothers. Okay, they were mocking him. Remember, they were like, behold, this dreamer come. Okay, he was envied. And scripture said that too. It literally said that his brothers envied him. That means I want to be you. I don't just want what you have materially. I want your position. I want to be you. I want to replace you. And we know what comes after envy and jealousy is murder, right? Okay, so he was hated, mocked, envied, rejected. You're 17. You're a 17-year-old boy. Imagine being a 17-year-old boy and you got 10 older brothers and none of them respect you. None of them, they all reject you. I mean, I imagine his brother's probably 20, 30 years old. And I can't even roll with y'all. Like, I can't talk to y'all. We can't hang, nothing. Like, y'all, he don't even have nobody but his dad. So he was rejected by them. Then he was conspired against. You had somebody sit down and plan your demise. Then he was physically attacked. They abandoned him when they left him in that pit. These are wounds. Just imagine the wounds. Then he was kidnapped. Then he was sold. Then he was displaced from his homeland and his culture. He was separated from his parents and his family. Then he was assimilated into Egyptian culture, because don't think he was in an Egyptian house wearing no Hebrew garments and speaking no Hebrew language. Trust and believe, he was dressed like an Egyptian overnight, and he had to act like them, and he had to take on their culture. Then after that, he was lied on. He was lied on by Potiphar's wife, falsely convicted, wrongfully imprisoned, and he was forgotten about. Now, the forgotten about part is that how you in the scripture tells you that there was a baker and there was a butler that were in prison because they offended Pharaoh somehow. So both of them had a dream. Here he is walking in authority. still operating his gifts. No matter where he is, he still got the gift. So both of them had a dream, and they didn't know what the dream was about. So Joseph interpreted the dream, and look, he gave Yah glory. I love how the small things let you know what's going on in the story. Like when you pay attention to the small things, it said that they didn't know what the dream's about, and he said, "Tell me the dream." He said, "Are not interpretations given by Yahuah?" So he was giving Yah glory even then, letting them know, "Oh, tell me the dream. Like, y'all know what the dream is. It's nothing." So he's still believing in Yahuah despite his wounds. He's still giving honor to Yahuah. And he's also sharing him with these heathens. They don't know him. They don't know Yah. So he's sharing him with them. So when he told him the dreams, he let the butler know that, okay, your dream mean that you're going to be restored. And he told the baker, your dream mean that you about to be hanged. And it actually came to pass. And he told he told the butler, listen, when you go back to Pharaoh's palace, please don't forget me. Like, remember me. Like, tell him about me, that I'm still down here. He probably thinking, man, Pharaoh probably forgot all about me. Forgot I was down here. But this is something that Joseph wasn't quite understanding, that him being down in the dungeon, that power did not lie in Pharaoh's hand. Pharaoh put him down there, but he was only being used as a tool through Yahuah. Yahuah wanted him down there. So check this out. His brothers, when they took him down when they put him down into the pit, and then he was sold into Egypt, Joseph just got a ride to where he was supposed to be. He just literally just got a ride to his destiny. That's all. So if you just think of it like that, because that's how Yah looks at it. Yeah, it's pain and suffering and all that, but that's only for a little while. But Yah's looking at it like, hey, this is where I need you to be, and this the best. I ordain this to be the best and the most efficient way to get you there. I'm gonna have somebody put you in a pit. They're gonna take you out, kidnap you, and sell you and put you in Egypt, because that's where I need you to be. So now that he's sitting in prison, he's thinking like, man, Pharaoh probably forgot all about me. No, Yah wanted you there, and it's not Pharaoh that's going to get you out. You will be released when Yahuah knows that it's his appointed time for you to be released. So he's sitting in prison, and he's waiting and hoping that the butler is going to remind Pharaoh that he's down there. And guess what happened? It says the butler forgot. The butler forgot him. Now think about this. How can you forget that? How can you forget somebody telling you, please tell Pharaoh about me? You can forget if Yah take it out your mind, because it was not time for him to come out. And Yah was like, he wiped it out of his mind. That's what I believe. I believe Yahuah was like, no, it's not time for you to come out. So the butler forgot him. So just imagine, because Joseph had all these wounds, and look, he was in prison for 12 years. That is a long time to be in prison for something that you did not do. So he got to Egypt when he was 17. He was in there for 12 years. So by the time he was in prison until he was almost 30 years old. He was 29 years old in prison. So while he was in there, Yah was preparing him for his purpose. He had a great purpose. And what was the purpose? Yah was using Joseph. It wasn't about Joseph. The story was not about Joseph. The story is not about Joseph's troubles. The story is about how Yahuah keeps his promise. He's keeping a promise that he made to a people. He's keeping a promise that he made to Abraham. That's what the entire story is about. Chapter 35 to chapter 50 is about Yah keeping his promise. So Yah was keeping his promise. He like, listen, I'm using you, Joseph. I got a big thing for you to do, but you're going to have to be healed. So you see the whole list of things that I just read to you, all those offenses? You got to be healed. Major betrayal. That takes a lot of healing. Listen, if you haven't yet been offended in a great way, then you need to be warned that it takes a while for you to overcome something, okay? Like, let me tell you what, and one reason why it takes so long. So one reason why it takes so long is because when you are wounded profoundly, you don't even know how bad the wound is. How you gonna, like, you're talking about, okay, I always use this analogy, right? Okay. So like my brother he died of a gunshot wound, okay? And it was like a shotgun, buckshots everywhere. And this is one thing that always stuck with me and marked me. So when you shot with a shotgun, it's like 100 buckshots in a buckshot slug or whatever you call it. The buckshot. It's like 100. It's like 100 BBs in it. 100 buckshots in it. So when you're shot like that, you don't even know. Like, you might have a primary wound location. You know, I was shot right here. But you don't know where all the buckshots are yet. You can find buckshots later on. You can be shot and find out later on, dang, I didn't even know it was one in my shoulder. Oh, man, I didn't even know one went through my cheek, or one is in my ear, one somewhere lodged in your body that you didn't even know. This is why healing can take so long. You don't even know where you hurt yet. It takes Yahuah to tell you. Only he can tell you. You think you're ready to go. You think, okay, you know, that thing happened to me. I'm done. You know, I'm over it. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't even know where you've been wounded. And the way that he can expose your wounds is by putting you in situations to show, oh, man, like that hurt. Oh, I didn't even know something right here. Oh, man, now I got to do something about this right here. So these wounds that you have, you don't even know exactly how you're wounded. You're wounded on multiple levels. You're wounded body, mind, soul, and spirit. Different areas. You don't know in what ways these wounds are affecting your walk, how they're affecting your judgment, how they're affecting your love, how they're affecting your forgiveness, how they're affecting your confidence, how you walk, what you do. You don't even know that. I'm talking about self. But he knows. You think you're ready to get out. You think you're ready to get out the fire. But no, he's still trying to refine you, because you still got some things going on. So you think you are right. But then if I let you out of here and you get up under some pressure, then you're going to find out that you wasn't all right. It's kind of like, if you come out of the hospital, right? Like after you have a baby, like for me, okay, I have babies, and then they'll let you know you need to take it easy, and you think, oh, I feel fine, right? You think you feel fine, so you decide that you're going to do more than what you were advised to do. You not only do you have doctors telling you to rest, but you got your mama and your grandma and your sisters or whoever telling you, hey, you need to sit down, and you think you can stand up and do whatever you want. Okay, and then they let you go. Okay, go ahead. And then when you stand up and do whatever, oh man, then you find out where your weaknesses are. Then you find out, like I remember after I had my first baby, I remember I wanted to go to Target so bad because I needed a bra, and I was like, I don't want anybody shopping for my bra. I want to get it myself. So everybody's like, no, you don't need to go to the store. You know, let somebody else get it. I'm like, no, I want to get it myself. Here I am, just had a baby, got out the hospital. I'm trying to go get a bra. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm fine, I'm good, like I'm all right. And I remember as soon as I got in Target, as I was walking down the aisle, something about them lights. It's something about them, like, all of a sudden it just looked like I was in a tunnel. And I'm just like this, like, and I knew this was a mistake. So that's what I mean when I say you can feel like you're fine, you can feel like you're all right, but you don't know. You don't know where your weaknesses are until the pressure is on. So you need to stay in that fire a little bit longer so he can burn out everything that don't belong, like resentment and unforgiveness and anger and fear and the spirit of rejection and the spirit of abandonment, all these things that happened to you, not just because of the wound that was just recently inflicted upon you, but because of things that have already happened. So there were things that you are already dealing with when you were younger, and what Yahuah does is he allows something new to happen that opens the door for him to be able to go ahead and fix that too. So when you go in, if you're gonna go in and fix something, you go ahead and just do everything, right? So if your house already needs to be renovated, and then some kind of damage happens, you don't just go in there and only fix the damage that just happened. I just do everything. I might as well just do everything right now while I'm in here, right? But guess what? It takes trauma for y'all to be able to get in there and fix you. It takes some trauma. And we're going to talk about trauma. I got a whole nother video. I want to talk about trauma and how trauma ain't as bad as people act like it is. All trauma is not bad. You need to be traumatized in order for him to get to you. And when you are traumatized and you have wounds that are open, that's how he can get in. That's how hard and wicked we are, because the flesh is at enmity with Yahuah. Because in our flesh, we are not a friend to him. And it takes for us to be wounded and bleeding to allow him in to fix us. So imagine Joseph, how much he needed to be healed of. I imagine that it probably took 12 years for him to be healed of all that he was offended by, and also to prepare him to have the strength to be able to carry this major mantle that was put upon him. So, you know what? I actually want to end it here because I don't want this video to be too long. I want to make a part 2. And a part 2 is going to be with Joseph gets out of prison and what happens after that. And also the application of what that means for us chosen ones, or what it means to get out of prison and get out of the fire and what happens after that. So that's all I got for y'all today. If you have not read Joseph, you don't have great understanding, start reading it right now. Read it again. Take your time and read it. Don't skim it. Read it. Okay? I'm Concealer Usury. I'm here to help. I'm a distributor of wisdom from Yahuah. I speak it, I write it, and I model it.